Hare Krishna. So today we will be reading the chapter 15 from Krishna book, The Killing of Dhenukasura. Starting with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. 6:20. Let us. Chapter 15. The Killing of Dhenukasura. In this way, Shri Krishna along with his elder brother Balram passed the childhood age known as Kaumaras and stepped into the age of Pauganda from the 6th year up to the 10th. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows in the pasturing ground. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full of flowers, vegetables, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends and Balram, entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very much pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits, and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balram as follows: My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of the view in their past lives, they have been put into this stationary condition of life, but now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association. Generally, living entities in the mode of darkness obtain the body of trees. The impersonalist philosophers are in that darkness, but they eradicate it by taking full advantage of your presence. I think the drones that are buzzing all around you must have been your devotees in their past lives. They cannot leave your company because no one can be a better, more affectionate master than you. You are the supreme original personality of Godhead, and the drones are just trying to spread your glories by chanting at every moment. I think some of them must be great sages, devotees of your lordships, and they are disguising themselves in the form of drones because they are unable to give up your company even for a moment. My dear brother, you are the supreme worshipable Godhead. Just see how the peacocks are dancing before you in great ecstasy. The deer, whose behavior is just like that of the gopis, are welcoming you with the same affection. And the cuckoos who are residing in this forest are welcoming you with their joyful sweet cries because they consider that your appearance in their home is so auspicious. Even though they are trees and animals, these residents of Vrindavan are glorifying you. They are prepared to welcome you to the best of their ability, as is the practice of great souls in receiving another great soul at home. As for the land, it is so pious and fortunate because the footprints of your lotus feet are marking its body. It is quite natural for these Vrindavan inhabitants to thus receive a great personality like you. The herbs, creepers, and plants are also so fortunate to touch your lotus feet, and by your touching the twigs with your fingernails, these small plants are also made glorious. As for the hills and the rivers, they too are now glorious because you are glancing at them. Above all, the damsels of Raja, The gopis are most glorious because you embrace them with your strong arms, being attracted by their beauty. In this way, Lord Krishna and Balram began to enjoy the residents of Vrindavan to their full satisfaction as they herded the calves and cows on the bank of the Yamuna. In some places, Krishna and Balram were accompanied by their friends. The boys were singing, imitating the humming sound of the drones and accompanying Krishna and Balram, who were garlanded with forest flowers. While walking, the boys sometimes imitated the quacking sound of the swans in the lake, or when they saw the peacocks dancing, they imitated them before Krishna. Krishna also moved his neck, imitating the dancing and making his friends laugh. The cows taken care of by the Krishna had different names, and Krishna would call them with love. After hearing Krishna calling, the cows would immediately respond by mooing, and boys would enjoy this exchange to their heart's content. They would all imitate the sound vibrations made by different kinds of birds, especially the chakoras, peacocks, cuckoos, and bharadwajas. Sometimes they would see the weaker animals fleeing out of fear of the sounds of tigers and lions. The boys, along with Krishna and Balram, would imitate the animals and run away with them. When they felt some fatigue, they would sit down and Balram would put his head on the lap of one of the boys just to take rest. And Krishna would immediately come and begin massaging the legs of Balram. And sometimes Krishna would take a palm fan and fan the body of Balram, causing a pleasing breeze to relieve him of his fatigue. Other boys would sometimes dance or sing while Balram took rest, and sometimes they would wrestle amongst themselves or jump. When the boys were thus engaged, Krishna would immediately join them, and catching their hands, he would enjoy their company and laugh and praise their activities. When Krishna would feel tired and fatigued, he would sometimes take shelter of the root of a big tree or the lap of a cowherd boy and lie down. When he would lie down with a boy or a root as his pillow, some of the boys would come and massage his legs, as some would fan his body with a fan made from leaves. Some of the more talented boys would sing in very sweet voices to please him. Thus, very soon his fatigue would go away. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, whose legs are tended by the goddess of fortune, shared himself with the cowherd boys as one of them, expanded his internal potency to appear exactly like a village boy. But despite his appearing just like a village boy, there were occasions where he proved himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes men pose themselves as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and cheat innocent people, but they can only cheat, they cannot exhibit the potency of God. While Krishna was thus engaged in his transcendental pastimes, exhibiting his internal potency in the company of the super most fortunate cowherd boys, there occurred another chance for him to exhibit the superhuman powers of the Godhead. His most intimate friend Sridhama, Subala, and Stoka Krishna addressed Krishna and Balram with great love and affection. Thus, Dear Balram, you are very powerful, your arms are very strong. Dear Krishna, you are very expert in killing all kinds of disturbing demons. Will you kindly note that just near this place there is a big forest of the name Talavan? This forest is full of palm trees, and all the trees are filled with fruits. Some have fallen down, and some are very ripe even in the trees. It is a very nice place, but because of a great demon Dhenukasura, it is very difficult to go there. No one can reach the trees to collect the fruits. Dear Krishna and Balram, this demon is present there in the form of an ass, and he is surrounded by similar demon friends who have assumed the same shape. All of them are very strong, so it is very difficult to approach this place. Dear brothers, you are the only persons who can kill such demons. Other than you, no one can go there for fear of being killed. Even not even animals go there, and no birds are living there. They have all left. One can only appreciate the sweet aroma that is coming from that place. It appears that up until now, no one has tasted the sweet fruits there, either on the tree or on the ground. Dear Krishna, to tell you frankly, we are very attracted by this sweet aroma. Dear Balram, if you like, let us all go there and enjoy these fruits. The aroma of the fruits is now spread everywhere. Don't you smell it from here? When Balram and Krishna were thus petitioned by their intimate friends, they were inclined to please them. And with smiling faces, they proceeded towards the forest, surrounded by all their friends. Immediately upon entering the Talavan, Balram began to yank the trees with his arms, exhibiting the strength of an elephant. Because of this jerking, all the ripe fruits fell down on the ground. Upon hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the demon Dhenukasura, who was living there in the form of an ass, approached with great force, shaking the whole field so that the all trees moved as if there were an earthquake. The demon appeared before Balram and kicked his chest with his hind legs. At first, Balram did not say anything, but with great anger, the demon kicked him again more vehemently. This time, Balram immediately caught hold of the legs of the ass with one hand, and wheeling him around, threw him into the treetops. While he was being wheeled around by Balram, the demon lost his life. Balram threw the demon into the biggest palm tree about, and the demon's body was so heavy that the palm tree fell upon the other trees, and several fell down. It appeared as if the great hurricane was passing through the forest, and all the trees were falling down one after another. This exhibition of extraordinary strength is not astonishing because Balram is the personality of Godhead known as Ananta Sheshanag, who is holding all the planets on the hoods of his millions of heads. He maintains the whole cosmic manifestation exactly as horizontal and vertical threads hold the weaving of a cloth. After the demon had been thrown into the trees, all the friends and associates of Dhenukasur immediately assembled and attacked Balram and Krishna with great force. They were determined to retaliate and avenge the death of their friend. But Krishna and Balram caught each of the asses by the hind legs and exactly in the same way wheeled them round. Thus, they killed all of them and threw them into the palm trees. Because of the dead bodies of the asses, there was a panoramic scene. It appeared as if clouds of various colors were assembled in the trees. Hearing of this great incident, the demigods from the higher planets showered flowers upon Krishna and Balram and beat their drums and offered devotional prayers. A few days after the killing of Dhenukasur, people began to come into the Talavan forest to collect the fruits. The animals began to return without fear to feed on the nice grasses growing just past time with brothers Krishna and Balram. One can amass pious activities. When Krishna and Balram entered the village of Vrindavan along with their friends, they played their flutes and the boys praised their uncommon activities in the forest. Their faces were decorated with tilak and smeared with the dust raised by the cows, and Krishna's head was decorated with the peacock feather. Both he and Balram enjoyed Both he and Balram played their flutes, and the young gopis were joyous to see Krishna returning home. All the gopis in Vrindavan remained very morose on account of Krishna's absence. All the day they were thinking of Krishna. In the forest of him herding cows in the pasture. When they saw Krishna returning, all their anxieties were immediately relieved. As they began to look at his face, the way drones hover over the honey of the lotus flower. When Krishna entered the village, the young gopis smiled and laughed. Krishna, while playing the flute, enjoyed the beautiful smiling face of the Krishna. Then Krishna and Balram were immediately received by their affectionate mothers Yashoda and Rohini, who, according to the time's demands, began to full began to fulfill the desires of their affectionate sons. Simultaneously, the mothers rendered service and bestowed benediction upon their transcendental sons. They took care of the children by bathing them and sang them very nicely. Krishna was dressed in yellowish garments and Balram was dressed in bluish garments. And they were given all sorts of ornaments and flower garlands, being relieved of the fatigue of their day's work in pasturing grounds. They were hooked They were being relieved of the fatigue of their day's work in the pasturing ground. They looked refreshed and very beautiful. They were they were given palatable dishes by their mothers, and they pleasantly ate everything. After eating, they were seated nicely on clean bedding, and the mothers began to sing various songs of their activities. As soon as they lay down on the bedding, their fist as soon as they lay down on the bedding, they were very quickly fell fast asleep. In this way, Krishna and Balram used to enjoy Vrindavan life as cowherd boys. Sometimes Krishna used to go with his boyfriends and Balram, and sometimes he used to go alone with his friends to the bank of Yamuna and tend the cows. Gradually, the summer season arrived. And one day, while in the field, the boys and cows became very thirsty and began to drink the water of Yamuna. The river, however, had been made poisonous by the Sometimes Krishna used to go with his boyfriends and Balram and sometimes he used to go alone with his friends to the bank of the Yamuna and tend the cows. Gradually, the summer season arrived, and one day, while in the field, the boys and cows became very thirsty and began to drink the water of the Yamuna. The river, however, had been made poisonous by the venom of the great serpent known as Kalia. Because the water was so poisonous, the boys and cows became visibly affected immediately after drinking. They suddenly fell down on the ground, apparently dead. Then Krishna, who is the life of all that lives, simply cast his merciful glance over them, and all the boys and calves regained consciousness and began to look at one another with great astonishment. They could understand that by drinking the water of the Yamuna they had died, and that the merciful glance of devotion, glance of Krishna had restored their lives. Thus, they appreciated the mystic power of Krishna, who is known as Yogeshwara, the master of all mystics. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 15th chapter of Krishna, the killing of Dhenukasura. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Radhe Shyam ki Jai. Kartik Month ki Jai. Radha Damodar ki Jai.